topic from your Dato. He likes this. So I won't be surprised. A hand in the topic. Um, Humanizing education. Now, I'll start with the premise and the pretext that I am not an educationist. I do not have a deep ed. Okay, although I don't think in time and age the deep ed is necessarily something mandatory already. Yeah, but that's for you educationists to debate and to think about. I know that the Ministry of Education has had this discussion also on either upgrading or enhancing the deep ed, and not just have it as a procedure for future teachers to go through. So I'll start there. I'm not an educationist per se. However, I was an academician for quite some time, actually. I was a lecturer and a senior lecturer in UKM for about, let me see now, 10 years. And in that decade or so that I was from 2000 to 09, in that decade I was in a lecturer in UKM. I was also head of medical education for 2 years, although I wasn't a professor yet, simply because I think the dean and deputy deans then needed someone to push new ideas and new ways of teaching medicine. Yeah, so that was it. It helped, of course, that half of the lady professors liked me. Okay. Otherwise, you'll never make it. Okay, as you probably know. So it helped. Yeah, but so that was my stint in education per se. Medical education also has gone through some transformation over the last 40 years. If you look at the way it's being taught now, it's vastly different from the way it was being taught 40 years ago. Yeah, in the 80s especially. And most of that change has been driven by changes in communication, changes in the way patients' expectations have changed, changes in the way hospitals are run, changes in the structure of health delivery, and changes in technology. Yeah. So, and of course, in the bigger picture, changes in financing, funding, which then affects the entire system, as we're seeing in Malaysia now, and was laid bare during COVID. So, so that bit of education I had, or rather experience as an educationist I had. Yes, so here we go. So then, why humanitarian education then, and its role in transforming the school curriculum for a more equitable society and global sustainability? So therefore, I have to make an argument here that we should have humanitarian education in schools. Yeah, but why? So, well, because in the first place, it includes 4 elements which I think are quite critical, especially in the 21st century. It may not have been so in the past. Okay, so it provides precise information. It gives knowledge which is face to face with change. Yeah, and change is happening in the world as we speak. Um, Climate change is one, of course. Yeah, and climate change then influences how bad or how frequent disasters occur. Okay, how frequent disasters occur and how bad they are then affect communities which are involved. Okay? And you may think that it stops there. It doesn't. It doesn't. Okay, it doesn't. If there's not enough water, yeah, if there's not enough water, there will be a war soon. Okay, in Africa and the Cape, yeah, and the Horn of Africa, yeah, because of water, because the Nile, which goes through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 countries, yeah, is such an important source of water, but it can be fought over, yeah, if things don't go right. So that's an example of how climate change brings about Desertification brings about a lack of water resource. Then, of course, government policy will be affected. Countries will be looking after themselves. And because they look after themselves, it will then may lead to first a diplomatic conflict, diplomatic disagreement, etc., etc. But smaller things have been started. Wars have been started for smaller things. Betul kan? Yeah. Helen of Troy was a reason to launch 1,000 ships. Yes. Lack of water. Oh, people will fight. Yes. So precise information. Number two, the three C's: curiosity, creativity, and critical thought. Now, this is straight out of Steve Jobs. Betul ke? Yeah. Steve Jobs said, the biggest thing that you shouldn't lose is your curiosity. Never lose your curiosity, which led to him doing the thing he did, which led to Apple being what it is today. Yeah. So creativity, critical thought. Why? Because most of the time, we in the humanitarian sector have to be curious. And for younger people like my colleagues there, as opposed to myself, who's been in this for over 20 years now, they are curious also. Why is it that people fight? I mean, can't you just not fight? Yeah. But people do fight. Human beings have been fighting since time immemorial, since Cain and Abel, Abil and Habil. Betul? Yes. Will human beings ever stop fighting, you think? We hope so, but really? Okay. Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Yeah. So creativity. Why? Why creativity? Because humanitarians usually work under duress, in limited and constrained manner. Yeah. With lack of resources, etc., etc. So you have to be creative and critical thought. Yeah. Which are instruments which allow us to face life's challenges. And then, of course, the values that it brings: reverence, respect, responsibility. It's easy to say that this can be obtained elsewhere as well. You can, but what humanitarian education brings to the school curriculum or even the university curriculum is these things come out to the front. They come up front, okay? They're not at the back of the subject. You have to have respect. You have to have responsibility to even understand why certain things are done, the way they are done. And of course, it offers positive alternatives and tools for conflict resolution, which means we can solve difficulties. And here, conflict doesn't mean just wars. It means also disagreements, between parties. So these four elements alone is enough reason for us to seriously consider having humanitarian education in curriculum, either in schools, in colleges, in universities, secondary, primary, tertiary. That's a lot of debate there for educationists, like some of you are, to think about. But definitely, at some point, it should be in the curriculum, and not just part of perhaps co-curriculum, optional. Okay, if you want to do it, kind of thing. Yeah, all right. So what is humanitarian education? So I took this from the British Red Cross. So I must give credit where it's due. Yeah, so it didn't come from me, but it's probably correct in what it's saying. It is a way of learning about and understanding the world and our place in it, our place as human beings. Okay, as human beings, and it is centrally concerned with our shared humanity. And so at the core of humanitarian action and thinking. So when you have it in the curriculum, it's not just about going to Gaza. It's about why must we help people in Gaza? So why? The why has to be there. So it contributes to saving lives and reducing suffering. Humanitarian education also invites exploration of humanitarian actions and values, and so it helps children and young people, children below 12, and young people, adolescents, etc., and youth, to examine what motivates people, including themselves, considering local, national, and global perspectives. So let me ask you, before this current Gaza war, how many of your children even understood anything about the Israeli-Palestine conflict? Okay. Now, if we have humanitarian education as part of the curriculum, things like the Palestine issue, okay, can be in curriculum already, not as a as a matter for to get people riled up and get angry, but more of an academic study, yeah, or reasoning. And so then you will understand why has this thing happened, you know. On the other hand, now I can tell you, although I am not a historian, but I can tell you the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict from, let me see now, from when do you think? Dia kata 46, dia kata 70. 17 dia kata. Balfour Declaration. Quote lah. I can tell you from 2000 BC, okay? 2000 BC, because that's when it all began, okay? But you have to understand this, yeah? You have to understand the whole storyline and why, perhaps, yeah, why some people feel the way they feel, yeah? Because in conflict, you have to understand both sides or all sides of the story. While we empathize with the Palestinians now, we should also perhaps take time to understand why the other side feel the way they do, yeah? Maybe not all of them, but some of them, yeah? And then you start reading about how Musa alayhi salam, who after all is a prophet of Allah, yeah? And before that, Yaqub, Ishaq, yeah? Bani Israel is Yaqub's offspring, yeah? Jacob is Israel, Bani Israel, yeah? Of course, there's this other argument, I don't want to go into that, yeah? This other argument on internet about all the conspiracy theories about which one is Bani Israel, which one is not, blah, 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 blah. Forget it, okay? But let's just concentrate on what's obvious, okay? So it started about 2000 BC. So yeah, if we agree that that's when the timeline is, it could have been even further back, yeah? If we don't assume too much, yeah? We have some real timelines though. For example, Nabi Yusuf was the visor to the Pharaoh, yeah? So there's a timeline for that. There's an actual timeline for that. So that's actual, yeah? Actual. So Nabi Yusuf, of course, was, one of his father's 12 siblings, yeah? One of his father's 12 children, yeah? So, etc., etc. And so then from there on, yeah, they became Bani Israel. And then, and then Moses came with the Torah, which was later, yeah? Again, we probably have a timeline then, which is when Ramses the second or the third, again, there's an argument there, yeah? So you see, you will learn by having humanitarian education to examine what motivates people, what including local, national, and global perspective. So then, bila kita menjerit free Palestine tu, adalah maknanya sikit. Kalau tak tu kita jerit je. Jerit sebab kita marah. Bukan salah marah. Tapi academicians, yeah. And if possible, we want our people, all our people, to have at least a minimum level of understanding of what's going on. Yeah? So that it's not driven just by anger. Yeah. So that there's reason behind it. Yeah. Kalau tak, anger leads to hate. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to the dark side. Yoda, Star Wars. so that's probably what's happening with the Israelis now. Yeah. Fear of the fact that for the first time in 75 years, their borders have been breached. Yeah. Their borders were not breached, yeah, by the Egyptian army, nor by the Syrian army during the 67 and 73 wars. Yeah. They were breached on October 7, 2023, okay, for the first time ever. That's why they are afraid. They are afraid and therefore they are angry, yeah? And this ridiculous bombing that causes 40% of the casualties being children is because they have fear. Takut sebenarnya. They have fear and anger. It's not just anger, it's not just revenge, there's fear. Fear is a very powerful weapon, yeah? So Yoda was right, okay? Next. Oh, sorry, I have the control. Yes. So, humanitarian response. So, this is humanitarian response. And that's a whole lecture by itself. I don't have time, okay, today, all right? I've given many lectures on humanitarian principles. You want another lecture on this, you invite us, and there are more than one person in Mercy who can give a lecture on humanitarian principles, yeah? But basically, the International Code of Conduct of the Humanitarian Worker, which is guarded by the Red Cross movement, yeah, and adhered to by the majority of humanitarian organizations and workers. Now, when we say that, I'm talking about organizations and people who consider themselves as bona fide humanitarians, yeah. All of us do humanitarian work sometimes, yeah. But you don't probably need to subscribe to this if you're not a professional humanitarian worker or belonging to a professional humanitarian organization. There are many organizations in Malaysia now who are helping with the Palestine cause, who are actually humanitarian organizations. They do other things during other times. Yeah, they are missionary da'wah organizations, yeah, etc. Nothing wrong with helping Palestine, so they probably don't subscribe to all those principles. Yeah, but organizations like Muslim Malaysia, yeah, we do. Okay, we do. It's not easy. Those principles, they look very big and very nice to write. Yeah, I can tell you they are very difficult to adhere to. Yeah, even the people who wrote them find it difficult to, yeah, and there are reasons for that. That's why I said this is the whole lecture by itself. Okay, but for today's purpose, those are the humanitarian principles. Okay, those are the humanitarian principles. Humanity, meaning the humanitarian imperative, and the human imperative always comes first for organizations like Mercy Malaysia. When we help people, it's who needs what help first. We don't see who it is, where it is, yeah. So if it's in Malaysia, we don't really care whether it's a state ruled by which party. No, don't care. Okay, we've been like that since we were founded. Since 2018, that's been easier. Okay, before 2018, that was very difficult. I can tell you. Okay, I can tell you, not easy. Okay, because this country was very much a one-party state. Yeah, up till 2018. Yeah, it's not easy for us to work. For example, in Kelantan. Yeah, when PAS was not part of the government, has never been part of the government, yeah, until 2020. Yeah. So federal government, that is, yeah. So anyway, the Sphere project refers to a quality and standards project within the humanitarian sector, which is another project and another lecture by itself. So that's it, yeah. So the guardians of the principles are the ICRC, the International Committee of the Red Cross, and the IFRC. The IFRC, the federation, is the Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent movements that everybody who has a Red Cross or Red Crescent affiliates themselves to. So the Malaysian Red Crescent is a member of the IFRC. Yeah, the ICRC is a different entity. Okay, the International Committee of the Red Cross, which is protected by the UN. Yeah, and has a mandate in war. In war, the ICRC is supposed to be the only entity that can go and see anyone, everyone, anytime, anywhere. Okay, but they are supposed to be absolutely neutral. So there's a price to pay for that. Yeah, meaning if you work for the ICRC, you can't have any emotion at all for which side is right or wrong. Yeah, you don't really care actually, or rather you do, but you have to keep it inside you so deep. Yeah, can be so difficult, right? Can be so difficult because you can see atrocities, but you cannot comment. You can talk about it within ICRC only. Yeah, because you're not supposed to say this is wrong or this is he is wrong or he's right. It's just the action, whether it's wrong or right, according to international humanitarian law. So these four principles are adhered to by humanitarian workers organizations and governs humanitarian action globally. So as you can imagine, yeah, impartiality and neutrality are very difficult, kan? Very difficult. Yeah. And like I said, the people who wrote this also found it very difficult. Okay. After 9/11, it became very apparent that a lot of Western NGOs and even the Red Cross movement found it very difficult. Yeah. The UN system, for example, found it very difficult. Going into Afghanistan, how do you be neutral? Yeah. How do you be impartial? How do you remain impartial? Yeah. If you're an American working for the Red Cross, how would you remain neutral or impartial if you come face to face with the people who planned the 9/11 bombings? Yeah. Again, I'm discounting the conspiracy theories. Kalau kita masukkan tu nanti terlalu banyak cerita ni. Yeah. Conspiracy theories yang mengatakan itu semua Mossad punya kerja, probably. Yeah. My take on that is very simple, people. Yeah, when there are conspiracy theories, and Tan Sri Zul knows this. Fine, there are conspiracy theories, and conspiracy might be true, but you still have to look at it objectively. Yeah, and even if it was a Mossad plan or operation, they still needed some Muslims to do it. Yeah, so yeah, so yes, so again, if you do humanitarian education in the curriculum, people might, as I said just now, learn this. Yeah, learn what motivates people. What motivates people to do something like 9/11? Yeah, what motivates people to actually do that? Yeah? Is it so simple? No, it's not. Yeah, and I've been on record on TV and radio to say that if the West doesn't stop the current catastrophe in Gaza, yeah, you're just waiting for another 9/11 to occur. Yeah. Yes. Hmm. So, learning about international humanitarian law is something that will be part and parcel of humanitarian education if it comes into schools. Of course, tak payahlah belajar international humanitarian law ni sampai ke jadi lawyer, okay? Jadi lawyer kena masuk kuliah undang-undang, betul, okay? And then boleh sub-specialize in humanitarian law, okay? Alright? Tapi again, before this current Gaza conflict, berapa orang Malaysia kat luar tu pernah dengar pasal international humanitarian law, okay? Rasanya mostly tak pernah dengar, okay? 90% I berani cakap tak pernah dengar. Sekali bila dah kena bom ni, semua orang duk cakap on Al Jazeera, CNN semua sebab international humanitarian law. Oh, semua orang jadi expert on international humanitarian law. Okay. When in fact people have not read about it at all, yeah, before this. Yeah. So this again, this is a whole lecture by itself. Simply put, this is what is the IHL is what is generally known as the Geneva Convention. Yeah, that you're not supposed to, for example, shoot a prisoner of war. Yeah, a combatant but a prisoner of war. You're not supposed to shoot him. Yeah, you're not supposed to. That's a violation of the Geneva Convention. Yeah, itu kalau combatant. Apa lagi non-combatant? Yeah, civilian, etc., etc., etc. Okay, okay. And again, activities help young people explore ideas through dilemmas, consequences, and respect for life and human dignity. So you see, if they learn about this when they are in school, so when they grow up, it's not just holding a placard on IHL, yeah, at a rally at Dataran Merdeka without understanding what IHL is, yeah. But it's also from childhood, you're exposed to the fact that there has to be respect for life and human dignity. Betul, eh? Kalau you nak bunuh musuh pun, kan, Islam ajar cara nak bunuh macam mana dan macam mana tak boleh buat. Okay. Ya, macam mana tak boleh buat. Betul. Betul, tuan-tuan, puan-puan. Ya. Jadi, I was having a discussion with my driver just now. He's not here. Yeah, but so you see, I was telling him now, you see the difference between the 40% children dead now out of indiscriminate bombing because of revenge, fear, anger, hate tadi, and perhaps according to statistics, there are about 45 children who were killed on October 7 by Hamas. Yeah. Now, you can see the difference. The 45 can easily be accepted as collateral damage of a military operation. Yeah. But 40% of 10,000 people cannot be accepted as collateral damage. Yeah. Or it's premeditated. Yeah. Meaning, you know, people there who are not involved, you know, the children, you still involved. Yeah, you still involved. There's a difference between that and you shooting into that dark room there, killing 3 people you want to kill, but then unfortunately there's one child who's also hit. Yeah, totally different. Yeah, totally different. So, and of course, again, yeah, dignity tadi. So, kalau betul, again, there are many versions of this story now, yeah, which I don't want to go into. So this version, these stories about Hamas decapitating children, yeah. So again, if it is at all true for any reason, then those Hamas soldiers who were responsible for that are guilty, yeah, of not just violating international humanitarian law, but the laws of war in Islam, yeah, and so they should be arrested and punished, yeah, even by Hamas, yeah. On the other hand, you can understand also the background to that. Again, if you learn about this and learn humanitarian education from school, you'll then start to explore. But why was he so angry that he decapitated the child? Well, then you explore. Oh, actually, he lost his child. Yeah. in the 2014, yeah, etc., etc. Maybe he was traumatized, yeah, etc. That's not an excuse, but it's an explanation. Yeah? It's an explanation. In the fog of war, kata orang, sometimes people do terrible things. Yeah, you're not supposed to accept that as norm. Yeah, so that is the difference. Yeah, that is the difference. Sometimes people do terrible things. Terrible things happen during darurat in Malaysia as well. Yeah, so the difference is whether it was premeditated or whether it is collateral. Yeah, consequence. Yeah, ada beza situ. Yeah, so that's where IHL comes in. Yeah. So again, and then of course the psychology of it. Yeah? The psychology of it. So the British Red Cross at the moment is, and these courses are free online, but also they collaborate with some schools in the UK to offer humanitarian education in schools in the United Kingdom. So from as young as 6 years old, okay, to 19 years old. Now then, that is why every weekend now, hundreds of thousands of British people, including non-Muslims, okay, including very white people, okay, come out and protest against the violence in Gaza. Yeah, partly, okay, because they understand, okay, okay. Kita buat satu minggu je tau. Sekali je keluar. 20,000 orang je pun. Tak sampai beratus ribu. Kalau nak ikut itu, orang di UK lebih bersemangat lagi, ya, menentang kekejaman di Gaza ni daripada orang Malaysia. Betul? If you look at that alone, every week, okay, every week, hundreds of thousands of people in London and other cities, okay. In Malaysia, there's only been one big rally so far. The other rallies have been very small, yeah, have been very small. So, that's because perhaps ours is driven by emotion, yeah, emotion saja, marah. Marah ni bila dah lepas sekali dekat satu demonstrasi tu, kan, habis dah. Dah tak payah keluar lagi dah minggu depan. Kan, tak payah keluar lagi dah minggu depan. Kan. Orang kat UK ni tiap minggu keluar. Tiap minggu keluar. Yeah? And like I said, if you look, you don't have to ask for numbers. You can look at the pictures, okay? They're not all Muslim, yeah? In fact, a sizable number of them are not. Same as in the US, yeah? So in the UK, they have that. Yeah? So it's not just IHL, but they also teach humanitarianism, Red Cross, disasters and emergencies, first aid, bystander effect, refugees and migration. Kita ni dulu, tuan-tuan perempuan, kan, kami tahu sebab we are directly involved. Tahun 2015 dulu kan, dekat stadium kat Titiwangsa tu kan, dengan Perdana Menteri masa tu semua ada kan, dengan semua parti politik Melayu Islam semua ada, semua memperjuangkan Rohingya, okay. Fast forward. Sekarang ni, you tengok dalam internet, tengok dalam social media, orang Melayu, yeah, not other people, not non-Muslims, okay, Malay Muslims, okay, are the biggest objectors, yeah, to the presence of refugees and Rohingya, especially in the country. Yeah, not other people. The Chinese in Malaysia are perhaps a little bit worried about the impact, as they usually are, on the economy as a whole. But some of them, as Chinese are very pragmatic. Okay, why not just employ them, lah? They say, okay. But no, we are, we can say hidup Rohingya on the one hand, but at the same time, okay, we detest them and we denigrate them. Some people beat them up. Okay, beat them up. Why? So again, fear. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Yeah, fear of losing jobs. Fear of losing income. Betul kan? Betul. Fear of losing business. Fear of losing places in pasar selayang. Tapi bila diorang tak ada pula orang lain pergi buat kat situ. Kan? Ni masalah. Masalah. Okay. Itu banyak masalah sebenarnya. Okay. As you can see. Yeah. So, conflict and its consequences. Like I said, conflict here just don't refer to the big wars, yeah, Israel and the Arabs. No. Conflicts in the office, yeah, conflicts in the university, yeah, which I will not go into, okay, because you know better than I do. Yes, ever present, kan? Like I said, my rule dulu was you have to win over the lady professors. That's all. Once you win, you win. Yeah. So again, Okay, what themes are covered? Yeah, so online resources, those, yeah, and there stigmatizing behavior. So they learn not to stigmatize the Rohingya, yeah, which we do so easily, yeah, after forgetting that we were the ones shouting at the top of our voices saying that they have to be safe. Okay, and so then, yeah, in Japan, disaster preparedness and resilience is a priority, yeah, in the school curriculum. It's in the curriculum. Yeah, they have regular drills. Yeah, for school children, for earthquakes, for storms, for typhoons. Yeah, etc. And It's a critical element in enhancing disaster resilience. And Science and social sciences are integrated into the subject matter. As you know, the Japanese are very strong in science. Yeah, very strong, of course. But they integrate that with good values as well. Yeah? So children learn teamwork, learn when they go on disaster drills. Yeah? They learn selflessness, helping the other person, sense of responsibility, which is why during the Sendai earthquake and tsunami of 2011, yeah, uh, gempa bumi di Jepun tak sama dengan tempat lain. Okay? Dia macam mana susah pun dia punya beratur tu masih tetap beratur, line cantik je. Okay, tak ada rebut-rebut, tak ada potong-potong queue, okay. Tak ada. Lapar macam mana pun tunggu, okay, tunggu. But they've learned that since school. Yes. And of course their culture perhaps also helps, yeah. But we can learn that as well. So Mercy Malaysia has been investing in resilient schools and disaster preparedness in schools for 16 years now, since 07. Yeah. So we've worked with MOE, with Ministry of Education since then. It started off as a program, just a small program, after the Johor floods of 0607, when schools were affected in some districts in Johor because the water wasn't received. Yeah. And there were 2 waves of floods then, if you remember. Some of you are very young, yeah, unless you were students in Johor then. Yeah. So it's also part of the ASEAN Safe Schools Initiative, the ASSI. So in a nutshell, again, this is a whole lecture by itself. I'm not going into it. Yeah. And even this slide is a bit dated. Yeah. As of 2019, 13,500 school students and 1,500 teachers have participated. Yeah. And it's an ongoing program, the SPP as we call it, in building community resilience, aiming to provide fundamental understanding of the concept and practice, just like in Japan. But at the moment, this is not core in the school curriculum. Yeah. So this is a program. Jadi MOE cakap dekat sekolah-sekolah di kawasan-kawasan yang prone to floods, yeah, and disasters, do you want this program? We have a partner, Mercy Malaysia, they have funding, which is not MOE funding, by the way, except initially in 0607, a small amount of money, but after that we had to look for our own money. Yeah, our own money. Yeah, so in fact, UNICEF actually had a book already on it that the DPRD, it's called, the bahagian DPRD ni, Planning and Research Division lah of the MOE had already had a book on it with UNICEF 07, but they didn't know how to implement. So we implemented. Okay. So by now, I think easily there's about 15,000 students perhaps, 2023 now, and maybe about 1,800 teachers at the rate that we are going. Yeah. We've continued doing this, although we're in Gaza, in Myanmar, in earthquakes in Turkey, etc., in conflicts in Syria, but we have continued to do this continuously. So has evolved, yeah. So from school watching and hazard mapping alone in 07 to full disaster risk reduction and building resilience community program. It's integrated into our building resilience community program. It's one of 5 pillars. Again, that's another lecture by itself. We have 5 pillars in the BRC, building resilient communities, safe schools, resilient schools, resilient hospitals, private sector involvement, community-based disaster risk management programs, and local government. Local government pun kita involved. Yeah, this one we learned from Japan, and it's a reality in Malaysia. You need that as well. So, and perhaps one point I didn't put there was we've also managed to integrate this with our pandemic preparedness program. As a result of COVID, we also have had a pandemic preparedness program, and the schools are part of that. We've instituted as a physical, tangible infrastructure. We built up hand washing kiosks in schools, about quite a few hundred schools actually. Then Then it was supposed to be, it hasn't been, I must say, supposed to be fully followed up with the school preparedness program, the soft power part, yeah. But we've not managed to do it in all the schools we've had kiosks. So, um, yeah. So we've taught teachers, but we've also, of course, included the children. Yeah? Then we've invested in some learning material as well, and engagement with the ministry in institutionalization of comprehensive disaster risk uh, basic education framework. So that's still work ongoing, work in progress. Yeah, to have it in the curriculum per se. Yeah, and so then the project goal and coherence. Yeah, so it's mainstream. Eventually, the aim is to mainstream it into the school curriculum. That's the nutshell. It's not done yet. Belum lagi. Not yet. So, in 2020, in the midst of COVID, Bersih Malaysia also worked with UNICEF to advocate for stronger climate change adaptation. So again, introducing climate change to schools, to teachers. Again, climate change is something in Malaysia, I think, is only people are only aware of it. I think when the weather gets a bit erratic, macam sekarang, panas sampai tengah hari, lepas tu hujan petang kan. Then people suddenly say, oh, climate change, climate change. But kalau tak, people just ignore climate change, and also people don't understand its implication and the need for it. And Malaysia, if we are not careful, we will be one of the countries that will be adversely affected by climate change from many angles, including economically, of course, economically, and then of course migration again, because other people will be displaced. We may not be, but other people may be displaced by climate change, and they may come here. Okay, just like the Rohingya have come here. Then what do we do? Okay, there's a term now called climate change refugees. Okay, because the water level is rising, etc., etc. Jobs may be lost. People from Indonesia, from Philippines might come. So this is another example, just like the British Red Cross. So this is by the Swiss Development Corporation, Project Humanity. Okay, so they familiarize students with the four humanitarian principles just now, and so they integrate the principles into daily lives, etc., etc. So this is offered by the Swiss government to Swiss schools who want this to have it in their curriculum. Okay, Project Humanity. You can Google it under the SDC, the Swiss Development Corporation. So now it's not only in Switzerland, it's also in African countries, in Rwanda, Burundi, Zimbabwe, and they have partnerships with big INGOs like Save the Children and the National Red Cross societies. And localization of context and culture will be the next step. Yang I bold tu sebab Tan Sri Zul kalau dia ada ni dia suka lah tu yang saya bold tu. You see, ini semua British Red Cross buat, Swiss Development Corporation buat, lepas tu buat dekat Afrika. Okay. In actual fact, we should have our own, shouldn't we? Yeah, because we understand our people better and the values tadi tu. What is impartial? What is neutral? Kan? What is the humanitarian imperative? Maybe slightly different, although the general stream may be same. Tapi what is neutral to a Muslim may not be exactly the same to an atheist. And atheists are the majority of the people who do this work. Okay, they're not even Christians. Okay, people think they're Christians because they are white. No, they're not. Most of them don't actually believe in in religion, in the afterlife. People who do a lot of the good things you see in the liberal West. They actually get very frustrated with their own religion, so they don't believe in anything. So their values are very, very based on humanism. Philosophies like humanism, which came out of the Renaissance, etc. But of course, we have values which we base on religion, on culture, kan? So sometimes if you and then nanti kalau kita tak buat sendiri, nanti kalau the Swiss bawa ke tempat kita, dah kita kata colonialism pula, kan? Which perhaps is partly true, but that's because of our weakness. We don't have our own program. Betul. So countries in the global south need our own versions of Project Humanity, preferably with our own funding and governance as well as philosophy. You have to be independent of them if you want to have your own value system lah. Yeah, kalau tak, of course, if they fund it, if they give 5 million Swiss francs, of course you're beholden. They give 5 million Swiss francs to UIA. Okay, of course UIA is going to have to follow a bit what they say, if not everything. Yeah, you can negotiate perhaps, but if they say, what about LGBT? Yeah, then that's sensitive for UIA here, but for them there, that's a mainstream issue. Yeah, in Geneva. Yeah, so again, but that's why if you want your own philosophy, show me the money lah. Show our governments have got to come up with the money, yeah, and not just talk. Okay. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, why is humanitarian education in schools becoming a necessity? I put it to you, okay? Because when I was head of medical education, yeah, in UKM though, yeah, and before that, when I was an undergraduate in UKM also, my batch happened to be the batch that Tan Sri now, Professor Sharifah Absah, who was then head of medical education in UKM, pioneered a new curriculum then, way back in the 80s, okay? Way back before some of the students here were born, okay? So, whenever a new, like I hinted to you guys earlier just now, whenever a new thing is brought, yeah, as in education or in politics or in economics, some will be resistance, yeah? And there will be, I'm sure you've had some discussions on some new curriculum innovations in your university as well. And there will always be resistance, and there will always be different opinions. So, and one of the pushback from lecturers, from professors especially, who don't want to change, will be that if you introduce something new, you will lose something core. Betul ke? Betul. You ajar dorang tentang community social finance, then you will have less time for banks and the module banks and financial institutions. Okay, pula. Okay, so nanti kan modul ni kurang masa, yang modul baru ni yang tak apa-apa ni kan pula yang dapat banyak masa. Kan. So then that's the usual argument lah. Usual argument. Yeah. I know that because I was in medical education, like I told you. Yeah. But I'm telling you now that for the 21st century people, these are not side issues anymore. Okay. These are not things that you do as co-curriculum only anymore. I mean, isn't climate change real enough for us? Kan? Aren't students supposed to know about climate change? Or they only get to know about it if they go into university? But then again, what about those who don't go into university? Okay. And we've just had statistics come to the last 2 years, people are now choosing not to go into university. Yeah. Because they can make more money doing Grab. Okay, why want to do university? Yeah. So then when are they going to learn about climate change? Okay. Ini masalah. This is core. Disaster preparedness and response. So kita cakap benda ni macam okay, it'll never happen to us. But we have major floods every year. Yeah. And we are waiting for the next one. Yeah. Which state we don't know. Yeah. So again, why is this considered a side subject? Isn't this something that we should learn about floods, about landslides, in geography at least, yeah, etc., etc. Again, and then integrate that with disaster response and preparedness in floods, yeah, safety, security, community resilience, energy and its sources. If you talk about climate change, you have to talk about fuel, yeah, etc. Dan sebagainya lah. Root causes of crisis, and then lastly tadi itu IHL, International Humanitarian Law. IDRL is International Disaster Risk Reduction Law, yeah, which is another law which the IFRC has mandate over. But then, of course, yeah, apart from it being core subject issue now in the 21st century, yeah, in the 21st century, the added value is if you put humanitarian education in schools, yeah, in schools, you can get these values, yeah, which are upfront, and like I said, not at the back. Not at the back, yeah, not at the back. Because you have to be compassionate. You have to learn what empathy means. You have to be, well, you talk about integrity, about corruption, yeah. This is it, man. I mean, would you have the heart to take zakat money, yeah, for yourself, yeah, when it's meant for the need for the needy. Yeah. Accountability. How do you spend money? Recently, there's been a lot in social media about how NGOs spend their money. Yeah, I think. Alhamdulillah, luckily, Muslim Malaysia is seen positive. Yeah. But yeah, accountability. Yeah, accountability. How you spend the money. Yeah, you get 10 million. How much goes to uh, to the organization? How much goes to the people we help? Yeah. So I tell my people, even we have 100 million, the cars will remain Proton Pro 2. Okay. And at the most, we'll have Toyota four-wheel drives. Okay. But no German cars. Okay. No German cars. No German cars. So, inclusivity, kan? Equitability, equality. The topic given to us is equitability, social equitability. Oxfam every year produces the global inequality index, showing how the top 99 people or the top 20 people in the world, half of whom are in the US, okay, own more, have more money, than the entire bottom half, of the world, okay, which is an absolutely ridiculous situation. Don't you think so? But that's the reality, okay? That's the reality. Yeah. So Bill Gates, kan, Tom Cook, Tim Cook, siapa lagi? Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, okay, etc., etc. You put them all together, they have more than, well, they have more than Malaysia. That's definite. Yeah, that's definite. Richer than our entire country. Okay, so that's ridiculous in a way. But you learn about this, professionalism, because doing humanitarian work also requires professionalism, not just suka-suka. But of course, there's also volunteerism and volunteering. You can do it not as a professional, as a volunteer, but with professionalism, etc. So you learn balance and things like that, which you don't learn in most subjects. Even in subjects like civics, which used to be an integral part of our school curriculum in the old days, because it wasn't an exam subject, most students, I remember, just masuk kelas, and then, pegang kan, yang gangster kadang-kadang isap ukur pun ada, sambil cikgu tengah cakap kat depan, which is ridiculous lah kan. But this one is something that you can actually integrate into the curriculum, and it becomes a subject which you measure subjectively and objectively, formatively and summatively. Ini bahasa orang education kan, formative and summative assessment kan. So I know, again. So you can do this, So that's why. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I have earned a bit of lunch, okay? So I don't intend to go longer. So inshallah, this is why humanitarian education should be in the school curriculum. Very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. So now we open for question and answer session. Do you have any question, audience?
It's okay if there are no questions, because like I said, this is a deeper subject sebenarnya, and if you want to ask, sometimes you have to go deeper into it. I would just like to say that perhaps the educationists among us, and also students who will grow to become educationists in one way or the other, will advocate for this strongly, because it's something that can actually make a difference. So if I just gave you examples of how it made a difference, in Japan, in the UK, both in disaster as well as in human rights and conflict scenarios, and how the understanding of humanitarian action can actually lead to better understanding and, of course, better human beings. I think I have one final slide, which is why, which is why this lah, which is to make human life much more ethical, sustainable, and in peace with the planet. So Of course, if we ever reach there, people, yeah, some people will argue that this is not Earth lah. Ini bukan dunia lah, yeah. This is the kingdom of heaven, yeah, perhaps, yeah, perhaps. Yeah. But again, kita jadi khalifah di muka bumi ni kan kita diminta, we are asked to strive, yeah, for the best. And yes, even if this is only achievable in heaven, we should try as hard and as much as we can, yeah, to achieve it here on earth, inshallah. Thank you very much again.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, for your very informative speech for today. And thank you very much for our audience for your kind attention. Hopefully this session will give us some take away home messages for us in order to apply in our daily life. Thank you very much. Okay. Do you have a question? Good.
I have a question here.
Yes.
You know, Mercy, like a very large organization, quite big, isn't it? But
No, they are laughing when you said we're a quite big organization. But never mind, go ahead.
famous, maybe famous all over the world. And my question is how we could contribute also as Mercy could do. We know we have some limitations, okay? How about if you think about the global, isn't it? Not everybody in this world are rich. And how can the poor, the uneducated, and even a person like me could contribute?
Right.
I think Mercy.
Yeah, I think we have to be both aspirational but realistic at the same time. Yeah. So aspirational is something like this lah. Yeah. That we want humanitarian education to be in the school curriculum one day, inshallah. And then it's a given that it will be in university curriculums. Now, some universities, even in Malaysia now, already have courses on humanitarian action. Yeah. Most of it, finally, most of the courses, and even internationally, are at the master's level and above. Undergraduate kurang. Yeah. Sebab apa? Sebab perhaps people worry about employability. Yeah. Worry about kalau buat bachelor's degree in humanitarian assistance nak kerja kat mana, kan? Tapi masters banyak. Masters ada, UPM ada, UKM ada, masters in disaster management, etc. Yeah? So basically, you're saying you can be an engineer and then a master in disaster management. You can be an architect, which some people are, yeah, etc. So the practical bit, though, we have to accept that it will take a longer time for it to be accepted as a bachelor's degree, yeah, in the mainstream. Before you can become a bachelor's degree in the mainstream, though, it has to be in schools first. Betul kan? So it has to be in schools. So otherwise, it will never be a bachelor's degree because not enough interest, not enough people who want to do it, and therefore there are also not enough employers out there, yeah, who are looking for people with a bachelor's degree. People will look for people with master's degrees sahaja. So that I'm giving you an example from the education perspective, from the topic perspective. Yeah? But outside of the topic, of course. So that's being realistic, kan? Realistic. We know that if UIA, for example, wants to have a program, the easiest is probably to start at master's level rather than trying to have it at bachelor's degree, because a bachelor's degree is going to be very difficult. Yeah. But our aspiration, perhaps one day there will be a bachelor's degree, like at some major international universities, and there will also be a steady stream of interest and of people from schools who want to do the bachelor's degree, yeah, either for knowledge or for employment purposes, yeah. So that's one. So going back further, taking 2 steps back, yeah, from just education, how can people actually contribute to this, yeah, apart from being involved educationally, either as teachers or as students? I guess number one is to be more sensitive and more aware of our surroundings and our what's happening around us. Yeah, and when we are aware, to actually take a little bit of time to actually not just react, which I think a lot of Malaysians do, and most of the time it's for a good reason and the outcome is good. Yeah? But sometimes, like I said, The example of the Rohingya refugees and migrant workers is an example. Yeah, sometimes the reaction can be bad. Yeah, can be bad and can be unjustified and unjust as well. Yeah, for example, where the migrant workers are concerned, we want them, but we don't want them. Okay, tak achieve macam tu. Betul ke? Yeah, we want them to man Old Town White Coffee and the petrol station, but we don't want them. Okay, we don't want to see them. We don't want to hear of them. We don't want to shake their hands. Yeah, salah tu kan? Yeah, etc. But at the same time, kalau orang putih buat kat kita, kita marah. Okay, if the white person, the white man community does it, we call it racist and colonialist. What are we doing? Yeah. So so sometimes we have to take a step back and ask ourselves. So so that, however, requires us to then know more than just the surface, kan? It will require us to know why the Rohingya are here in the first place. Betul? Which most people out there don't know. Okay, and some people think they are just here because better job opportunity here. No, some people don't even know that they were driven out of their homes. Yeah, and they cannot go back, etc., etc. In a way, the Rohingya are the most persecuted, even more so than the Palestinians. Yeah, in the world. Yeah, in the world. And I say that as a humanitarian leader, comma in Malaysia, I guess I can be called an expert, although I wouldn't dare to claim that internationally. Yeah. So the Rohingya are more persecuted than the Palestinians. Yeah. The Palestinians at least have a structure, a society and place in the West Bank, East Jerusalem and Gaza, even though it's bombed. Yeah. The Rohingya, no structure, no leadership, no nothing. Yeah, no nothing. Yeah. So a lot of us don't even understand why they're here. So then, so if people who can and have the capacity to do more should do more. So people like professors, yeah, should then take a step back and learn, or rather read. You don't have to learn actually. I mean, you're clever people, inshallah. All you need to do is just read a few articles and you understand. Yeah. So read and understand why they are here in the first place, and then help to spread the right message, help to spread the right advocacy to the rest of Malaysia out there. Yeah, because sometimes it's difficult. It can be the blind leading the blind. Yeah, and of course, if you leave it sometimes to the politicians, all politicians, okay, all politicians, regardless of which party, politicians will sometimes have to play to the gallery. Yeah, and if the gallery changes, then they will change. Okay. It takes a very brave politician or someone with a very secure seat, for example. Yeah, secure seat macam mana ya? Secure seat ni macam seputih lah kot kalau DAP kan. Daman Syara, okay, 120,000 majority, boleh ya? Okay. Tapi kalau tempat macam Kuala Kangsor ke kan, Batu Pahat ke majority 1,207. Nak bercakap pun salah, tak bercakap pun salah, kan? Buat salah, tak buat salah, okay. So MP and aduns in seats where they win just like that, okay. I'm not going to say anything. Okay? So they will follow what their people say, what the constituency, instead of leading, they follow. Okay, they're supposed to lead, but no, they follow because they are not pure. Yeah. So of course, this is not just in Malaysia, people. Xenophobia towards refugees exists even in the West. Yeah, even in the West, it exists. Yeah. So, but I'm just giving you an example. What can you do? You can do that is more difficult. Yeah, that is more difficult than giving 10 ringgit at the Tabung Palestine, which if you earn 10,000 ringgit a month, 10 ringgit is alhamdulillah. 10 ringgit is very easy for you if you earn 10,000 ringgit. Yeah, it'll be very difficult, more difficult for you to say something in your local surau or masjid, yeah. And actually, when the conversation is around Rohingya, ada 3-4 orang pakcik kat situ tengah bincang pasal Rohingya kan. You dengar asyik mengutuk je kan. Asyik membelasah je. Ada yang nak pukul mungkin, okay. You pergi kat situ cakap sebenarnya macam ni. Kan. But of course, before you do that, you have to be an orang masjid yourself, yeah. Kalau tak, they won't listen to you, yeah. So that's another thing, yeah. So again, if humanitarian education is in the curriculum, okay, how to integrate society, Because doing community-based disaster risk management programs, for example, community buy-in, okay? Need the community to accept, okay? That's why it's easy in East Coast, and in some districts in Johor, where it floods often, yeah? In Pahang, Kelantan, Terengganu. But kat Selangor, tak ada siapa nak pergi, okay? Sehinggalah hulu langat berlaku hari tu. Kan? Barulah terduduk semua. Okay, terduduk. Kan? Jadi, but now it's a big thing, yeah, for the Selangor state government as well. Yeah, disaster preparedness, etc., etc. So I guess it's twofold. Of course, for those young people over there with energy, with youth, with health, of course, yeah, learn, equip yourself with the necessary skills. Volunteer for simple missions first in Malaysia. Doesn't have to be with Mercy. You have so many organizations now, yeah. MRA ada, Imaret ada, kan, depending on which talk share you follow, yeah. And then apa ni, Suci ada, yeah. So many. Yeah, you can volunteer, going into orang asli, villages, etc. first. Equip yourself first. Janganlah semua nak pergi Gaza esok, okay. Kami ni yang dah 15 tahun, 15 years non-stop in Gaza, okay, non-stop. We've been there, and we haven't stopped being there since 0809. Kami pun, our first team that day when I was interviewed on Astro, I said, well, at the moment we have a small team there, but our small team was such a strong team, okay, such a strong team that the government, okay, one of the team members sat with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs when they went to Cairo. Yeah, another team member, a very experienced field worker, made all the connections with the Egyptian Red Crescent, etc. Not just for Mercy, but for the Malaysian mission. Yeah, yang sekarang ni yang baru hantar naik kapal terbang tu. Okay, so we had 3 people in the first team. Now we have 5 people over, and still very strong people who've been bombed before. By the way, okay, it's not the same. I was in Aleppo every night when I was in Aleppo in 2013. When I slept, the artillery was firing. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Dekat je. I slept. You may not be able to. Yeah. So yeah. So janganlah terus nak pergi Aleppo, terus nak pergi Gaza, okay? Sebelum nak pergi Aleppo, Gaza tu kenalah berlatih dulu, okay? So pergi tengok orang banjir dulu kat Pahang, okay? Rasa susah sikit, rasa tidur bukan di katil empuk yang ada aircon dulu, kan? Ini berangan nak pergi Gaza, nak pergi Syria, kan? Lepas tu dengar boom kan, terkencing, kan? Susah juga, kan? Kan kita pula kena jaga you, okay? Tak boleh, tak boleh, alright. We cannot send people to war zones whom we have to look after. Yeah, you're supposed to be looking after the beneficiaries, the vulnerable population. So we only send people to war zones, people whom we know can look after themselves. And sometimes when we need to send someone new because he or she has a special skill, let's say we need to send you because you're the only person with that skill that we know of. So we make sure you go with other people who've been bombed before. Okay. So you don't go alone. Yeah. So if you can't sleep, at least they'll be there. Okay. So yeah. So like that. Yeah. So yeah. So we all need to do according to our, I suppose, to be realistic. So I said as aspirational, all of us want to do the maximum we can. Yeah. But I guess being realistic, the maximum for every one of us is different. Yeah. So I guess that's my answer. I guess UIA misalnya di kampus Gombak ni, Prof Zul Tan Sri has spoken to us a few times about doing programs in the communities adjacent to the campus. Yeah, not just orang asli but also traditional kampungs here. Yeah, why not? Yeah, we can do programs together with Mercy, but also with other humanitarian development organizations. You can do, apart from humanitarian programs or medical programs, you can do more up your street, kata orang. You can do education programs. Yeah, you can do tuition classes for the underprivileged. You can teach English to the poor kampung student. Okay, hello. The reality of it is, people, 67 years now, yeah, after 66 years now after Merdeka, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, yeah, if you're not going for a government job, if you're going for a private sector job, if you can't speak English, unless the company is wholly Bumiputra owned, you're not going to get a job. Okay, you're not going to get a job. Simply put, yeah. So teaching English is a big thing. Yeah? It's a big thing. There's a big NGO, Teach for Malaysia. Okay, tapi itu they do it very professionally. But UIA can do it, on a smaller scale. Yeah, yang Teach for Malaysia tu, you have to leave your position for a while, for 6 months, take unpaid leave and actually go and teach people in Parit ke, maths ke, kalau pandai maths kan, sastra ke, kalau pandai sastra kan, kalau mat bunga boleh, okay, boleh ajar sastra, okay, etc. Whatever lah, yeah, whatever. So yeah. And then yes, when it comes to big issues like this, if Malaysia, you must remember we're a small country, yeah, ladies and gentlemen. We're small satu. We have a small economy, dua. We don't have the most powerful military in the world, tiga. Okay. In fact, we don't have anything that is the most in the world. Okay. We are a very, very good middle income country. Okay. And most of our people also are very moderate, very middle people. Okay. Middle. So we can only make a difference if we have this. We have knowledge. Yeah. I mean, I have to say, the current Prime Minister, since everybody calls him by it, I can call him also, okay, PMX, okay. I think he's doing fairly well, yeah, internationally, probably because he knows how to do it, yeah. Probably better than he knows how to do things in the country. Yeah, never mind. You didn't hear me say that. So, but yes, you can see he's actually very comfortable going around, talking to people, talking to President Erdogan, talking to the Saudis. So you need to have that. You need to have a little bit extra. Okay, I'm not saying he's perfect. Don't. I just said that he probably does that better than what he's doing inside. Inside the country, he seems to be stymied a bit. Sometimes at loss for what next to do. But when he goes around doing diplomacy, he is in his element, I think. Yeah, so you have to support, because it can't just be the Prime Minister. Okay. Malaysia, to make a difference, has to be a qualitative effort. So it has to be Malaysian NGOs, Malaysian universities, Malaysian companies, yeah, etc. So like that lah. Like that. Okay, I think kita dah masuk lunchtime, Prof. Kita kena berhenti kot, kalau tak habis cerita ni. Okay. So thank you very much again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Okay, thank you very much for this section and thank you very much for the audience.
Okay, so we'll break for lunch and then we'll come back. Please come back before 2:30 because we like to start on time. Dr. Saleh will deliver his keynote on at 2:30 p.m.